let me look at my, so this is a different kind of live that I'm used to. It's gonna be more relaxed because we're just gonna be laminating. But sorry, I'm so cold. Oh, I haven't gotten these types of angles before, so bear with me as I deal with like backlight and stuff. Okay. Yeah, so Martha had said thanks for showcasing this because, you know, croissants, everyone has different techniques and different methods. So here I've done 2 turns on my croissant dough already, and then I'll showcase the 3rd turn, and if it's not too warm, I will do the final rollout on the dough sheeter as well. Okay, let me skip these ads. My kids are still sleeping downstairs. It's 11 a.m. here, and they're still sleeping. So they may come up at some point. I threw snacks down if they wake up. Hopefully they'll find those and they can eat those before they come up here. Hi, Amy. I hope you're doing well. But yeah. Hi, Jean. How cold is it outside? Let's see. I feel like it's about 54, maybe 54 degrees. It's not that it's like that cold, but when there's no sun and it's raining like it is now, I'll show you guys. So it's like rainy and overcast. It just gets you like chilled to the bone, you know? You're driving up to Milwaukee? Hello from Kenya. Hello. I love it. I love that you're listening while you're driving. Okay. So let me put you guys down a bit and I'll talk a little bit about croissants and start laminating and talking at the same time. So here's our machine, right? It's got this board here. It is not like marble. You can see it kind of feels like not like a plastic, but like a plastic cutting board almost. Hi Seth. Hi Terry from California. I'll have to look at Seth, what you said in a second. So this is the board that comes with this dough sheeter. I think this is like the 35 inches or something like that. Let's see. It's like I'll link the dough sheeter in the 12, so 24, yeah, almost 38, right? So 12 and 12, 2, 4, 6, 36. Almost 36 inches long, the board. So that's this, and then it is 12, 13, 14, 15 inches this way. And I measure that for you guys just because that's what you kind of have to, if you're sheeting out cookie dough or anything like that, you're just gonna need to know, like, will that work for your situation, right? Was that enough space to roll out things? And I have 1,700 grams of dough and butter here. This is a larger batch than they recommend for this dough sheeter. It does work. On their website, this is from Broad & Taylor, I didn't say that. And on their website, they say, you know, between 500 and 600 grams of dough. This is 1,700. So just take that into consideration. I just wanted to showcase exactly though how you can make that work with larger batches, and then just things to know. If you haven't ever worked with a sheeter, this will be great just to see and see if it's something that eventually, if you're like really into making croissants, or if you sell croissants, if this is something that you would want to invest in. Okay. I've had a lot of people say this isn't a dough sheeter because it only has one roller and it's not two. Either way, no matter what like the semantics are of this, this saves my arms so much work. So I really love it. It is not a small price point though. It's $795. So it's not cheap. Definitely an investment if you're selling your goods. So you always want to start up at the very top and open this roller up so you have the most space possible for your dough, right? You start at the biggest. Let's see if I might be too high. This is why they say, you know, only 500 to 600 grams of dough. So here's my dough. I've done 2 turns on this already. And look, it's too high right now. So I don't want to try to push this through. I'm just going to get my rolling pin really fast. It kind of grew. I have some brush. It kind of grew as it sat in the fridge, right? So it got a little bit of gases in it. So let me just kind of roll it out once real fast with my rolling pin. So I'm used to, let me kind of show this table here. I'm used to doing 3 single turns for croissants. A lot of people will cut corners and do like 1 double fold and the rest singles. So 1 double fold and 1 single. And that saves a lot of time too. I don't find one way like better than the other, but I like 3 single folds. Just get those gases out. Always flour your surface wherever you are rolling out your dough. You don't want your dough to stick to your surface. So that's going to be the main thing on our sheeter, is that we want our piece of board to be floured. And if you need to, if you have something stickier than like a croissant dough, flour this roller. All right, I think this is good to be rolled down now. Just got some really nice gas, carbon dioxide in there. Okay, I want to see what Seth said too because I didn't get to see. But I always have like a little container of flour, right? You just flour your board a bit. Because this is such a big amount of dough, when I do this, I am going to make sure I've got flour everywhere as I continue and as it gets longer and longer, because it can stick anywhere on this board, right? So I'll flour the whole board as it gets bigger, but start from the very, very top. You have these 2 little knobs, and that's like what moves your roller. If you can see, the space here grows as you go higher, and it tells you the increments. I think it's in millimeters, 25, 20, that kind of stuff. So you just want to go down 1 click at a time. I can't get it in there right now, but you want to go down 1 click at a time, and I do it twice. I pass it through the sheeter 2 times before clicking down. So you just kind of push it down. Beautiful. Go through the second time, and then click down 1 hole. Okay? Sometimes I'll just make sure you keep track of your seam if you do move around. You can see all the bubbles from the gases. You always want your seam to be on the right. So if I was standing here, it's on my right. So that when you're folding the correct way every time for that good lamination. Passing it through one more time. I can probably get rid of this. Okay, one more down. 20 and 20. All right. And it's that easy. You just go back and forth till you're at a long enough length to fold it up and make your turn. I'm doing a few extra every time because it's so gassy. Okay, and this obviously you want it on the same measurements each time. There's little holes here. I'll take you guys off of the stand and show you. So let's see if you can see. These are the measurements. It's hard to see. Sorry guys. I'm like, I can't tell where you are. But either way, there are measurements down this line, and that's each one takes you smaller and smaller with your roller. Here it is, right here. So you put the pin in different sockets and bring it down, and then that brings this down and then pushes your dough down thinner and thinner. Hopefully that helps visualize what I'm clicking down. Okay. And then just always check. I heard someone wrote on one of my reels that their dough kept piling up. Well, make sure, one, you're going down slow enough so you're not forcing too much dough through this space, and two, that you have your surface floured. Okay? And it's that easy. Of course, we don't want to incorporate too much extra flour into our dough, so when we do make our turn, have your pastry brush ready to kind of brush off the excess flour. And as I get longer and longer, just continuing to 15 and 15 to put more flour down. Okay, so Seth, you said hi. Haven't baked since April. Ooh. Seth, have you done croissants with 3 layers like that? Drop whisk for life, yeah. I know. Compared to the co-pays. Yeah, Amy, that made me laugh so much. Yeah, compared to the chiropractor appointments and the doctor's appointments from rolling out every single batch of croissants, that is amazing. The price of the sheeter doesn't seem that bad, right? Okay, so I'm kind of going slow here, but this could go really fast as I talk to you guys. And I'm just going down, one little thing at a time. And if you go to Broad & Taylor, their Instagram or their website, they showcase their sheeter as well on their pages. And of course, they have a smaller amount of dough that they're rolling it through. But that's why I wanted to show you guys the big guy. You just have to be careful. Again, like I rolled it down a little bit, so I'm not trying to shove too much through this at once. And then I'm also going to have to, when it gets longer, manipulate the dough as I roll it through to make sure the whole thing can pass through. I'm on 10. See how it's kind of going over? So right now I know I need to move this guy back further. Pass it through one more time, and I'm going to pass it through even another time because I missed it that second time on that side. because the dough is retracting on me right now. It's something to be aware of as you try to do your turns. Just make sure you do a few through at each measurement or space, so that you're not working it too much or having issues with it not coming through. Oh, can I tell you how much easier this is than the stinking rolling pin? It is amazing. Making sure it's not sticking to my board, right? I don't think I need more flour at this point. And we're going down to 5. All right. There we go. Move it back a little bit. Look how long it's getting. Okay, so this is my 3rd turn. So I'm not doing like the full roll out right now. I'm trying to get you guys a better view. So this is plenty. Brush it off if you need to. Like I don't have the straightest edges right here. I'm going to use my knife and just cut a nice straight edge and put the uneven part at the end inside here. So I'm not losing any dough by chopping it off. I just got this nice new Headley & Bennett knife, chef's knife, and I wanted to try it out. I'm not gonna cut on this surface though. I should have like a cutting board, but I'll just cut on my, let me be safe with that knife. I'll cut on my table carefully. Okay, so the seam is on the right, correct? So like say it was like this. This is how I'm used to having it when I'm folding it. Because I was rolling it, say, so my seam is on my right. Dun, 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 I rolled. Now it's time to fold, and then this is the turn, okay? So seam goes to the right. Does that make sense? So this is my 3rd one, and I'm just going to cut a straighter edge on what's gonna be the outside. So the top. Try not to go down, but you do want a super sharp knife to keep those layers really nice when you're doing the final cuts. Okay, so that's that. Here we go. Dust off the excess dough. I like to just sort of fill in the cracks. So we've got this guy and this one. That kind of makes it straight across, right? Extra. This pastry brush of mine is leaving little hairs of itself on my dough. So I'm reluctant because it's the color of the dough, so it's really hard to find. See, look. One of them came off, if you can see it. So annoying. Okay, so here we go. Make sure we're good. We can go a little bit further in. Just kind of place the dough like it was part of that. So you're not losing anything, but you're coming out with a nice straight edge. Okay? And then we're ready for the final rollout. Just want to make sure this is even. Put those pieces in. Close her up. I'll do a few. So I'm putting the seam on the right. This is my right. I'll put this all the way up and see how my dough responds to rolling it out more. If not, I'll put it in the fridge if it's a little too warm. But I think it's cold enough to keep playing. Okay. Because, again, I have such a big amount, this is where I need to help it start a little bit. So So if you have a smaller amount of dough, you won't have to do this at all because it's not going to get this fat. Or you could roll it out even further, but I didn't need to right now. I find sometimes that overworks your dough. And then you're left with a really tight crumb. It's just overworked. And it still tastes great. I mean, nothing can go wrong with that much butter. But it's better if you work it as little as possible as you do all these layers. All right, so this is the final rollout. I've already done 2 turns. Just kind of getting all of the ends through it. And we'll go down another notch. Yes, the dough can definitely take a bigger batch. Oh, compound butters on the side. Yes, please. I know my kids, this is gonna turn into almond croissants. That's the favorite of this house. Almond croissants for the win. So because I cut that little edge off, I am getting a little bit of butter that's kind of getting on my roller. Just be careful. Wipe it off every once in a while if you get a little butter, because that will cause some sticking on your dough if you don't put some flour down. But it happens like every time for me, because I like to cut and have a clean edge on my side. Just flour that up a bit. Did I go down? Oh, I could go some more. So typically, I do 2 turns first. 15. And then I'll rest my dough for 2 hours, like 45 minutes in the freezer, and then put it back into the fridge to let it rest and retard the yeast from getting too over, what is that? For the yeast from over fermenting. There we go. And then I'll do the 3rd turn, and then I'll have to let it rest again for another couple hours, as to not have it, because it just retracts constantly, right? So on this one, I have done 2 single folds right away, like I usually do. Refrigerate 30 minutes even. Then it's good to do the 3rd turn and final rollout right away. This one I left longer because I was waiting for the live, so it's fermenting a bit. That's okay. Ooh, did I see black truffle, Seth? I need to look at these comments. I might need to put this one in the fridge because I'm starting to tear my dough from it being warmer. Let me just put it down a little bit more. But this is it. I mean, you're only just turning the little crank and letting it go do its thing, right? And it's getting bigger. And it's nice and smooth. I'm gonna just put it in the fridge for a little bit and talk to you guys for a little bit though. Just because I'm taking longer with talking. Where did I put the saran? Always save your saran wrap as you're working with your dough so you can keep using the same stuff. You don't want your dough to dry out. So always brush off that extra flour and always cover it when it's going back in the fridge. If it's really long and you have to put it in the fridge, just fold it. All right. I'm gonna do one and one. I've got my brother coming into town on Friday, so we're gonna have almond croissants ready for him. Okay, this is gonna go in the fridge. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, it's kind of far away, but then I can talk to you guys. Okay. Yeah, I gotta say also that Seth, the drop whisk method, if you have the KitchenAid and that's an option for you, it's been awesome. So thank you for sharing that. It's so nice to be able to do a smaller batch in your KitchenAid. So when the dough starts to retract, is that a good time to rest? Yes, Jean. The dough is retracting a little bit for me right now, and it was also a little warm. So what the refrigerator or freezer is gonna do is it's gonna let it relax for a little bit and then also cool it down, because you know the whole time and temperature thing is the main thing with croissants. You have a yeasted dough, so you're dealing with time, and then also temperature, because the butter, you don't want it to melt, and also the hotter it is, the faster the yeast will ferment. So you're playing with those two factors, and that's once you get those down, once you have that feel of the dough, when you're like, oh, that's a little bit too mushy for me, you'll know to like pop it in the fridge for about 30 minutes or the freezer for 15. I put mine in the freezer. I said I was going to do the fridge, but I decided freezer to see if we can speed things up and actually get some croissants cut today. But my main goal here is just to show you guys the sheeter and how it works and speeds up the process. Usually I don't stop, but I did want to talk to you guys. Usually I don't stop with the sheeter because it can pretty much handle it, even if it's retracting a little bit. It's been really nice because you can kind of just power through, whereas you're fighting the dough so much when you're doing it by hand that it's not worth it, and you're just going to overwork the dough. Whereas this is the same amount of dough working either way. Patience. Yes, exactly. Let the dough win. Give it some time. Yes, Jean, I love it. You remembered all the things. So, what I really want to try, Seth said black truffle's favorite on pasta, why not croissants? I mean, why not? Sell it for like $1,000 too, right? How many turns can you get with this versus hand rolling? So Amy, either way, I'm doing 3 turns. With hand rolling, it just could take up to like, this sounds bad, but sometimes the dough is like, maybe I overmixed my dough initially, so the gluten was pretty strong to begin with. So then later, my dough is retracting a ton on me as I'm doing my 3rd and final turn, or when I'm doing my final rollout, and it just fights me like nobody's business. in which case it's going to take me hours of putting it back in the fridge, taking it out, letting it relax, getting cooler, you know, like all those things. I've started rolling out in the morning at like 10 a.m. and finished around 6 p.m. with shaping my croissants on one of the worst days, right? When it's super retracting, when it's retracting a lot. I don't know if super retracting is the way to say it, but so it can take a lot of hours. With this, it consolidates that time, and I do the 2 first turns, right? You put the Butterbook in, first 2 turns, put it in the fridge half an hour, and then I could do the 3rd turn and final rollout pretty consistently after a half an hour. So that really shortens my time. You might need to rest it after the 3rd turn if your dough is retracting. If you've like mixed your dough a good amount in your KitchenAid the night before, you might want to rest as you're doing your 3rd one, like I'm doing now. I ran out of some ingredients, so I didn't have whole milk, which the fat from the whole milk really helps lubricate the gluten strands as well. So I was like, oh shoot, I'll just use 2% milk. So I'm using it today, but I can tell the difference. It's not rolling out as nicely. So that's also something like, you know, like I'm not gonna not make a recipe just because I don't have the exact ingredients. I'll fudge things. Like if I don't have enough bread flour, I'll just put more AP flour and then kind of do a different mix. It's not gonna be as good, but it's better than having to go to the store, you know, like as right now, because I'm not selling my things. This is just for our family. So that's where I'm at. So if you do have to fudge things around, just know that that will also change the way it rolls out. Your dough needs that fat from the whole milk. It needs everything in the recipe that I have to help with the best possible way of rolling out to make it, you know, the ideal rolling out mix, I guess you could say. Okay. The temperature in my house, let me go check. Noemi asked what the temperature in my house is right now. I think it's about 65. Yeah, it's 65 degrees in here. But there is a black truffle butter. Oh, really? Content. Yeah, so I need to look up this black truffle butter. That sounds amazing. But yeah, so either way, the sheeter just speeds it all up. It's totally doable to do with your rolling pin. Gives you a great workout, and you feel like I really worked out. I deserve all of these croissants after you bake them, which is an amazing feeling to me. I love hard work, but it's just it feels so smart when you're doing it with a sheeter, right? Like, work hard, not smart. I mean, work smart, not hard is what they always say in the kitchen. And this little thing is so nice for the home. I haven't showed, it's kind of dirty right now, but I can show you, and then I'll take my dough out. I'll show you guys how it closes up real fast. Lisa, yeah, I mean, I'm not selling either, and it's just something that oh, I didn't put it all the way on. It's so conveniently sized, and you're able to store it well. You don't need electricity to like plug it in. It's just such a big convenience factor. And if you make croissants enough, or if you make laminated doughs, puff pastry even, I tell you, after you've made croissants, make some puff pastry. It's so much easier because it's basically the same thing without the yeast, And when you're not trying to deal with that yeast, man, is it a lot easier. So go all the way to the top. Let's see, you can take this little guy out, and then, not exactly, haven't done this. These just kind of go down, but there we go. You put this down, and then that goes down. There we go. These have little sections on the bottom, so it's not moving around. And then there's a spot in here to put the this kind of seeds in right here, and it holds in this way, right there. So it's on there, and then this can fit inside here. Not that way, this way. And then this goes over the handle. And then you've got your whole thing like a briefcase. This is how big it is to store. And then you also have this thing, which I just put into a cupboard right above this. And I have it comes with like some bubble wrap. I just clean it every time and then put the bubble wrap in it so it's covered. And then I store it right above it on the cupboard thing. But this is the biggest thing, but it's thin, easy to put somewhere, slide in somewhere. But this is it. Isn't that so nice? I find it super user friendly. And then these are what kind of make where the board slides, right? This, and then that little metal thing. You just put them in. So let's see if I can put that all the way up, and this all the way up. Put this back in here. What you always want to do is just make sure that the handle part is on the side where you have freedom to put the handle, because if it's all the way on a table, the handle's gonna go lower than the table and you'll fight that every time. But other than that, that's it. So let me go grab that dough. We'll try to roll it out a little bit more. This just kind of pops in. So it has this roller down here, and that's what rolls the board. And then this roller up here rolls your dough. Like that. Boom, 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 boom. All right. I think I know. Yeah. Lisa, when's your birthday? Yes. Amy's a Virgo too. Yeah, this Penny, she just likes to be next to us, so she's calm. She's 10 years old. Oh, October 11th. Maybe you can get like an early birthday present. Yeah, Miss Penny is 10 years old. Okay, so I'm just taking the plastic off. It's nice and cold. It's a little too cold because I put it in the freezer on the edges. I don't want to rip the dough by trying to roll it while it's too cold, so I'm just going to let it sit for a couple minutes. Or you can warm it up with your hands. The middle's great. It's just this little edge. So when you are ready to do that final, July 11th, that's so soon. 200% of Virgo. Seth. I feel like I am, oh, let me go wash my hands because I had to blow my nose. Okay. I don't remember what I was saying, but let's see here. Yeah. Okay, we're good to go. Not too, oh yeah, when you're doing this final rollout, just make sure that you're prepared, that you've got like your template ready and everything on the next step because of the time sensitiveness. That's great. Oh. The time sensitivity, right? So this, I put it back because I was showing you guys how to put it up. I think we're about, let's try right below a 20. There we go. I think that's where we were. Move it back because it's not going to have enough space to grow. Yeah, happy early birthday, Seth. That's coming up. That went down too low on this one. Just remember, again, you're going to have it roll out with odd pressure if it's not equal on here. So just when you put it down, make that extra effort to make sure it's equal and they're on the same level. 15. Making sure every time it's not sticking to the bottom of our board. Getting a little tight, sticky. Now, at this point, I want to get my template and make sure, since this is my final rollout, that I am long enough this way to trim my sides and have my template. Right now, we're not long enough. So, as we kind of push it out more, it should get wider. But I might have gone too far. Yep. I went too far already this way, so I should have done that before. So if that happens, you can always flip this way and roll it this way, and that'll give you a little length that way. But I'm sure as we press it down, it's going to widen. But that is always a good thing to check before. I am adding flour, yes. Oops. I'm adding flour. You have the same apron? I love, it's one of my favorites. I'm adding flour on the bottom and sometimes the top as I see necessary in case it is sticking to my surface. Because if it sticks, if it gets caught up on here sticky, it's going to like pile up on itself. Or if it gets stuck down here, it's not going to flow out nicely on our board. All right, here's where it's gonna get fun because it is gonna get long in a second here. Try to go faster for y'all since I'm going so slow as I talk. Dun, dun, dun. See, it's gonna get too long here. So I'm gonna move it back. And this is just because I have this huge dough. And I want you to know that it's doable. And our goal is to get about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch thick here. So as you notice, I kind of did a few times on that one just to get it even because we're going small. So let me put it in the middle a little bit more. All right. See how it's widening out? So that'll be good. For our template, bring it back. And just kind of maneuver it, right? Like I'm just kind of moving it around so it fits. And if you saw there, it kind of piled up on itself. So I need to put more flour down. I don't know if you saw, but let's see. We're getting a little bit of dough up here. So let me just kind of build up on our roller. But we're getting there. You can always cut this in half at any point too to work with a smaller amount. I'm gonna go just clean this real fast with a paper towel just to get a little bit of the gunk off. Just so it's less likely to stick. Okay, then I'll go back down to where I was and do one more pass through. Ta-da! I feel like I'm opening the gates to the wizarding world. I don't know why. Like magic. Again, it's sticking. Sticky, sticking. All right. Little more flour. We're gonna pass it through one more time and see how we're looking with the size. All right. I'll just go backwards. Start at a different spot. See how it's more than the length of the board at this point, but you can still manipulate it through. Let's see how we're doing with the length. Let's see. We'll go down to 0. All right, let's do one more pass through. It's gonna get thin, guys. Just don't want it to stick too much. Also don't want to dry it out, so you gotta just be really careful. I'm gonna start at the very top of our board. Bring it down and go. And put it back through so this side gets it. Oh, it's sticking. Retreat, retreat. Put more flour down. Get my handy dandy. And this has it. The last time I did a bigger batch, this didn't happen. But of course, during a live, it should show you everything that can happen, right? Thank you. Thank you, live. So, putting a little more flour down on my surface, and we'll go through one more time. There we go. And then this has gone through once before. So I'm gonna just, ooh, look at that. Look at how thin it is. It's perfect. So bring it through. Kind of fold her up, and then I usually take it to a place where I can cut. You want to make sure you clean this after every single time. You don't want the dough to just sit on it, right? So if you're making chocolate croissants or, you know, these, like, I'm going to cut the edges and this is going to be perfect length. Just make sure you account for that. If I was doing chocolate croissants, I would have my chocolate template. And you could do like 2, 1, 2, or you could do them this way. Like, you just want to make sure your template is going to be situated on your dough to yield the most croissants as possible. Okay? I'm just going to trim up the sides, and then with my knife, usually I use a scalpel, but since I have this knife here, let's see if I can do that. And what the trimming does is it's just going to make that edge with the layers pop through when you start to shape your croissants, so you actually see them. Okay, well, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this on this camera. They're little layers. This one, I wish this was a better. You can't really see. So I'll see if there's something else. But it's pretty. So those, I like to, you know, toss. I'm only doing about 1/4 of an inch off. And then I'll toss them with like cinnamon sugar or something. And bake them off still. Man, I wish you could see it. It's just so little that it's hard. Like the layers are really thin, but yeah, it's pretty. So I am just going to, well, I just didn't think we would get this far, so I didn't prep my sheet pans, but here we go. You want to either use a pizza cutter if it's sharp enough, because it could, the whole part about having a sharp knife is that it keeps those layers open. If you have something that's dull, it's going to close those layers off and kind of pinch them together. It just doesn't make as nice of an edge. So you want to beware. This is a really nice, I'm loving this knife. They just released the knives. I'll use this as like a scrap piece, but usually I also trim off the edges, right? But yeah, I might go get my scalpel just because I'm a little nervous on my table. It's wood, but I just don't want to go all the way down on it and scratch my table. Okay, so once you get your size of your croissant that you want, I'll show you how I shape. So usually I'll do like a cut, and then I turn the template and cut, turn the template, cut, 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 you know. So it's nice and fast. And then what you're gonna do is cut a tiny little 1/4 inch slit right at the base in the middle. Pull it down, get a mat. Yes, I know, no, Emmy. I know. So pull and stretch a little bit. And then what I like to do is I'll bring these little edges down like that. And I'll show you right here. Let's see, move the chair. You push them down to the edge here, and then you just bring the whole thing up, keeping your tip in the middle. Then you've got your little croissant ready to be on your parchment paper, egg washed, and then either frozen or proofed. Okay, so let me put this in the fridge for now. See if you have more questions. Because I didn't prep my egg wash or my sheet pans. I really didn't think we'd do the final rollout, which I'm glad we got to do. It is fine to fold her up like this. The dough is going to be just fine. I will bake off those croissants. Here's a little, the scrap that was on the edge that's not like trimmed. I'll just do a mini and put it with this one. I'm just gonna put these in the fridge for now because we're working with yeast and we don't want it to over ferment. Okay, with my last class, Noemi was there. I did try, Dora, why are your messages being looked at for review? Yes, like and subscribe. Dora, you're awesome, thank you. Out of curiosity, have you tried any other kind of dough with this? Noemi, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Have you tried any other dough? I have not yet. Amy, was that you? It's very helpful to see how to troubleshoot. Yes, Amy, you had said, have I tried other dough with it? I haven't yet. We made pizza yesterday. I don't know why I didn't pull it out and try. But I'm curious to do cookie dough because I feel like that's what most people ask about is, can you do cookie dough? And I see in the reviews on the sheeter that you can. For me personally, I'd probably put it in between 2 pieces of parchment paper as I sheet it out. Just to be careful. Depending on how sticky your pie dough is too, maybe put it in between 2 pieces of plastic wrap and put it through. But I mean, dough can be sticky too, so I bet they'd be fine just sheeting it through. But yeah, I haven't done my tart dough or anything in it yet, but the reviews say that it's great for those things. And it's just like a bakery I worked at, they had a smaller compact one for their pie doughs or their tarts, and it was electric, but it was very similar to this, and they did it like without having, it's just, you know, make sure you have enough flour down without parchment or plastic wrap. So I think it'd be great for sheeting any of those items. I haven't heard if fondant works or not, but why not, right? Like, especially if you put plastic wrap. Okay, let's see here. Yes, Amy, so this is the new Headley and Bennett knife I'm trying out. I need to clean it. It's sharper than my knives because it's nice and new, and I haven't sharpened my other knives for a really long time. So it feels really good, but that's why I'm just a little nervous on my table. It's a wood table, but it's still not like a chopping board, right? So I didn't want to cut down too hard on it, but I really like it. Again, like aprons and knives, you can get 10% off using Baked Toujours at Headley and Bennett. Like the sheeter, not like a low price point. This is on sale right now. I don't know if you could use my code and their code, but it's 15% off right now. They have a few different colors. I really like the caviar, the black. It feels nice if you need a new chef knife. The price point, I think it's $115 without any discounts. Okay. What else? I missed you. Dora, being kind, show. I'm saying show. Open crumb with the sheeter. Martha, I am. So I did vegan croissants on here. I did 2 batches of vegan and 1 regular. The first batch I did was regular, and there was room for improvement. The honeycomb structure was good, but it was my first time, so there's definitely some room for improvement. It was a little tighter than I wanted it to be. But other than that, like, it was really nice. The 2 vegan, I don't know exactly how vegan butter melds in and everything. Like, if it does evaporate as well to form. Like, I don't know what's possible, right, with the crumb. But I really liked what it was. It didn't look as airy as a croissant with real butter could look. But you could see the layers were great. And there was definitely honeycomb structure. But that's something I need to just even look up photos of vegan croissant crumb just to see what's possible. Just to, I don't know how it evaporates in the oven and if it has less or more water content than regular cow full fat butter. So we'll see. What happens if the yeast over ferments in spite of resting? Will it affect how it bakes? So Jean, that's a great question. If your dough over ferments, like if you get some bubbles, don't worry about it. Your yeast is doing what it needs to do, right? The process of croissants is long, and I kind of get weirded out when I don't see a bubble or two, just because I'm like, is my yeast even working? That's fine. It's when it's super over fermented and you're getting huge bubbles at like turn 2 where you need to worry because it's too warm. And in that case, your oven spring is not going to be very good because your yeast is not, your yeast is not going to have much left in it, right? When it's trying to proof its final proof, and it could easily collapse after that because it's going to have way too much pressure quickly, and then the gluten's not going to be able to hold in the structure. So in that case, you're going to have very dense croissants if your dough is that over fermented. You have a good amount of time though. I feel like I've even tried what I was going to say earlier with my last class. I tried a batch putting the croissants, instead of in the freezer once they were shaped, I put them in the refrigerator overnight and baked when I wanted to bake. So I never froze those one batch, like 6 croissants. I put them in the fridge to sort of slowly ferment, and then I took them out for another hour or 2 to finish the fermentation process or the proof process to fill with their gases, and then I baked, and it was great. So that was a whole 12 extra hours in the fridge having the yeast work without it over fermenting, and it had a great oven spring still. It was really nice still. So you have a good amount of time to play with as long as you use that fridge to retard the yeast. Noemi, yes, I shaped, egg washed, and then put into the refrigerator right away. And then it stayed in there from class time, which was probably like 2 p.m. my time, till 8 a.m. No, because I pulled them out like 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning to pull out, finish the proof at room temp, and then bake. So it was in the fridge for a good 12 hours, or no, more than 12 hours, because 2 p.m. to like 7 a.m. So you can do the math. Yeah, of course. And it worked well. I mean, I didn't notice too much of a difference for the other batch I froze. So for the class, I froze overnight and then pulled out way earlier to do like a 4 to 5 hour room temperature proof before baking. I'm always told that a little bit of yeast will die in the freezer. With the recipe I have on my YouTube channel or in my ebook and my class, a little bit of yeast may die in the process of freezing, but it's not going to be a big enough issue to really notice. If you freeze for longer than 3 days, that's when your yeast is going to be start to really die off, and you'll be able to tell it won't be able to proof as much, and it won't have as much volume and oven spring. So I say give or take, freezing for 3 days is the max, but you know, with every freeze you do lose a little bit of yeast production. So if you were to bake these off right away, no matter what time you finish your third turn and shape and you proof without using your freezer, it's going to have a bit more oven spring. Is it worth waiting or like having fresh croissants at 6 p.m. instead of in the morning? I don't think so. I would love to have baked those off in the morning, but you can be the judge if you prefer to have them ready, you know, at nighttime and then working that, or working through the night like bakers do for your bakery, your local bakers. They work, you know, 3 in the morning so that you can have your fresh croissants. So it really depends on, I'm going off on a tangent, I feel like, but either way, just know like you will see the tiniest bit of yeast die by using your freezer. Is it worth it to lose the convenience and not freeze? I don't think so. Boom. Okay. Okay. After all of my hand motions and let's see. Noemi, I sold you on the sheeter. It's really nice. I'm a huge fan. That's all I gotta say. To bake, would you recommend parchment over a silk pat? I always use my silk pats to bake on. To bake on specifically, Seth, are your silk pats like perforated silk pats? I find that silk pats that are like not perforated don't give it as much room to breathe on the bottom, but I mean it works. I have always preferred parchment because there's a little butter leakage, and then I don't want butter on my silk pats that I use for my thank you, Amy. I don't want butter on my silk pats that I use for my macarons, but I do have a perforated silk pat that I have really enjoyed using for my croissants and my pâte à choux. So it really depends. And I don't see a huge difference as to where you need to switch your routine if you like how yours turn out. Amy, thank you so much. Let me read that. Amy, yes, I need to figure out Patreon, so figure something out, but I appreciate it. Noemi said, so impressive to my guests when I bake in the morning, right? Like just having that smell in the morning, having it baked off, I find that so worth it. And if you can use the fridge overnight, that's even better, because then you don't have to be getting up at like 4 in the morning to have them proof. So usually I'll just like set my alarm for 4, get them out of the freezer, and then they proof for like 4 to 5 hours at this temperature here in my house. I need one of those proofers. That's my next big purchase when I can save up, is the Broad and Taylor proofer. They have a proofer box too. But I don't know if they would like fit, how many croissants they would fit. Either way, I would wake up at like 4 and then take them out, and they're already egg washed before you freeze them. So I would put them like in my oven with the light on for a little bit of heat, and then go back to bed. And then they proof for 4 hours, and then I take them out, turn the ovens on, and, you know, egg wash and good to go. All right. So I mean, that is the process of the dough sheeter, which was the main focus of this. Anyone else have questions on the process of croissants? Excuse me. Oh, I'm so glad, Noemi. I'm so glad you were here. I love seeing your names pop up, you guys. Amy, Noemi, like just having people you've worked with before. I mean, you guys are consistent in lives, but also having you had it in classes. It's really nice to be able to kind of touch base and as you've worked through more things, hear questions. So thank you. Jean, I hope so. I'm so excited. I have a niece that I met once when she was like weeks old, and it was during COVID, so like masked up, couldn't really even see her, you know, it was like for minutes. And now she's 1.5 and I get to go, she gets to come here and I get to actually see her as a little human. I can't wait. Oh, Tams, thank you so much. Really appreciate your kind words. Aw. I'm so good. Noemi, you're at work. I am at work. Oh, work in progress. Jean, thank you so much. And Jean, you've taken classes too. You guys are so sweet to continue to support. So I appreciate you even being here and having the chat box and having, like, this is obviously my passion. So it's a joy. So thank you guys so much. For some reason, my chat box keeps putting, it's like acting funny and is retyping what you've asked. So I'm hoping you guys aren't like retyping. I think I answered questions, but because Jean, it said, how will it affect if I over ferment my dough? Like, how will the bake be affected? I answered that, right? Because it put it in my comments. YouTube's being silly. I just want to make sure I'm not ignoring anyone and they didn't hear the answer. Honestly, thank you, Jean, Amy, Noemi. I really appreciate your support and everyone here. I was just calling out those super chats. I love the little guys. You are amazing. All right, guys, I think we're good. I think there's a delay, which is frustrating. I hate that the commercial things make it all delayed. But would you recommend purchasing? Yeah, my chat is just going off. Yes, you did. Watch you work as a sheeter. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here. Because of this thing being all weird, I'm going to say goodbye. And yeah, so I'm going to finish off after I say goodbye to you guys. Bye, Dora. You're amazing. It's always good to see you in the chat. I'm going to finish off by cutting the rest of my croissants, shaping, egg washing, and I'll probably freeze just because I won't bake for a couple days. All right, and then once they're frozen, you can like kind of put them in a sandwich bag or a storage bag to keep some space in your freezer. And then when you're ready to pull them out, arrange them in a way on your sheet pan that gives them space to grow, and proof them, egg wash them again, and then bake. All right. Thank you guys. Happy 4th. Yeah, have a good 4th of July. I can't believe it's going to be July this soon. You guys are awesome. Jean, goodbye. Thank you so much for being here. Bye, Amy. Have a wonderful rest of your week, you guys.